Let's get back to that escalation between Ukraine and Russia. After Monday, when President Biden greenlit Ukraine to fire U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia. Well, by Tuesday, escalation. Russian President Vladimir Putin lowered Russia's threshold for using nuclear weapons when Ukraine fired those American-made ATACMS, as they're called, for the first time since the start of the war. Wednesday, more escalation. Ukraine then fired British-made missiles into Russia. And the U.S. closed the embassy in Kyiv, warning of a threat of what they called a significant air attack. By Thursday, Russia fired an experimental non-nuclear ballistic missile into Ukraine. So a lot of discussion right now, and you can expect this in the days and weeks ahead, about Russia's weaponry. Russia calls it a new non-nuclear ballistic missile with medium range. You can see almost like fire from the sky raining down there. Vladimir Putin says that that attack is a direct response to what he calls reckless decisions from the West. So let's bring in Dr. Stephen Wills. Mr. Wills, you're a navalist for the Center for Maritime Strategy. What do we know about these intermediate range missiles that Russia fired yesterday? We understand that we need to classify those as MRIVs, but tell us first of all about that first.
Hey, Reed, thank you so very much for having me this afternoon. First of all, we believe this to be the Russian RS-26 intermediate range ballistic missile. And it's got a unique twist on it because it combines a couple of Cold War technologies into one system. So intermediate range ballistic missiles have been around for a long time. We had a treaty with the Russians until 2019 to limit these weapons. And we left that treaty at that time under the assumption that the Russians were cheating. And this may be one of the products of that cheating effort. The difference with this intermediate range weapon is it combines something from the ballistic missile, intercontinental ballistic missile category, which is multiple independently retargetable reentry vehicles, or MIRVs. This is something developed in the 1970s so that one missile could carry multiple nuclear warheads. The difference here is the Russians have armed this with conventional warheads, where in the past intermediate range weapons have had a unitary single warhead. So this really complicates the defensive picture in trying to defend against these types of weapons. Thankfully, at least so far, this seems to be an experimental weapon, so we may not see many of these yet on the battlefield, but their implications for further use, especially around the world, are disturbing, I think.
Experimental weaponry for sure, but do you think also a message in choosing that particular weapon by Russia?
Yes, it certainly fits within this escalation cycle that we've seen take place, that you noted in your timeline, that we had the lifting of the U.S. ban on the use of ATACMS inside of Russia itself. The British and the French have allowed the use of Storm Shadow Scalp that you mentioned earlier this summer already. Mr. Putin obviously and very dramatically staged his response first, making the threat that caused the evacuation of those embassies in Kyiv, and then actually doing the launch itself. So maybe we've seen this particular escalation cycle play out. I certainly hope so that it's done. But again, the implications of this weapon going forward, I think, are significant.
Let's talk about those ATACMS. You mentioned them, and I think we are in an age and era where we are going to have to get familiar with what they are.
Yeah, ATACMS is a system developed during the Cold War, and it has real use within the current Ukraine-Russia conflict. We developed this weapon system as part of what used to be called air-land battle, which was the U.S. and NATO response to a projected Soviet invasion of Western Europe during the Cold War. These missiles were designed to be fired deep into Soviet rear areas and disrupt their ability to resupply their troops and tanks and move further troops and forces forward, so to disrupt in the rear area. They had use in Operation Desert Storm, and we used them again in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003 with great success. So this is a proven weapon system, and it has both unitary warheads and distributive small munitions too, so really good against armored vehicles.
Okay, so we're also hearing about so-called Storm Shadows. What are their capabilities and uses?
That's a 300-mile range missile. That's an air-launched cruise missile. It has a bunker buster capability, so it's a very capable weapon, and we've already seen it in use. It's been credited with the destruction of one of the Russians' 5 cruise missile-capable Kilo-class submarines. These are submarines that have been used extensively in the Ukraine conflict to surreptitiously launch cruise missiles against the Ukrainians. And for which they don't really have a defense against. Ukraine doesn't have an anti-submarine warfare capability. So this has been a really useful Russian weapon system. But this particular submarine, Rostov-on-Don, was hit in dock and probably destroyed, or at least severely damaged, by a Storm Shadow missile. That same attack also likely wrecked one of the Russian amphibious warfare ships designed to transport tanks and troops. So definitely this weapon system is getting some play in the war already.
Dr. Stephen Wills talking about that intersection between the science of weaponry, politics, and war. We appreciate you so much. That was such an informative conversation.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good weekend.